This is Office Hours, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between. Take a deep dive into the mindset it takes to excel as our unbelievable hosts and guests share with you the strategies and tools they've used to dominate their respective fields. On this episode of Office Hours, Craig Siegel, Tim Story, Francis Wolf, Kevin Jones, and Brian DeMarco.
What you make happen for someone else, God will make happen for you.
What a great mindset.
He's an inspiration to so many people that came from nothing.
Really, what you do in the community is more important than talking about what you do.
Writers are becoming podcasters this decade.
That is mind-blowing.
They're throwing off the saddle and saying, yes, I can.
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours. We have some amazing guests coming up, but first, let me introduce you to our host, David Meltzer. Growing up with a single mother who raised 6 kids, David was driven to be rich so he could take care of his mom and buy her a house and a car. After graduating law school, he became a multi-millionaire and fulfilled that dream, only to lose that house, car, and over $100 million due to bankruptcy. Thanks to his resilience, David has been able to make it all back and more, evolving into one of the world's top serial entrepreneurs and esports investors. Today, he's on a mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, providing as much value as possible in everything he does.
I'm David Meltzer, and I have the host with the most, especially this guy here, Jason Waller, Power Home Solar CEO, and the True Underdog podcast. If you haven't listened to it, you're missing out. Check it out. It's one of the best podcasts in the world. Of course, Media Abundance's co-founder, Mike Mamola, author, speaker, entrepreneur, and influencer of many. David Marino, sports agent, partner at Brown Rudnick, and also an extraordinary speaker. Welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for all of your help, because we know it's the questions you ask that make Office Hours the best show here, late night entrepreneurial show that we have. I can't wait for our first guest here on Office Hours.
Our first guest is Craig Siegel, keynote speaker, entrepreneur, mindset coach, and breakthrough manufacturer.
Craig, welcome to Office Hours.
Thank you so much for having me. You have my word. We're going to manufacture magic together here today. I'm big fans of all of you. Let's do this.
Yes, let's do this. You have the best attitude of anyone that I'm working with. I'm blessed to mentor you and help you, but your mission truly is to empower others, to empower others. You're one of my magical Meltzer 1000. What helped you to make that transition from Wall Street, 10 years on Wall Street, making a ton of money, to walk away from it to help other people?
You know, it's simple, Dave. When the pandemic happened, not to sound too spiritual and too cliche, but it provided me an opportunity, a window that I haven't had in 10 years to kind of reassess. And it also told me just how unpredictable life is. Quite frankly, I didn't love the direction I was heading. I didn't want to wake up another 6 months from now doing what I was doing. Yeah, making money is fantastic, but at some point, you have to be happy. You want to do what sets your soul on fire. And so when I had that minute, when I closed down my office at the beginning of the pandemic, I put myself in that frequency, Dave. And I know you love to talk about higher frequencies. And I said to myself, what do I love? What is my passion? And the truth of the matter is I've always been obsessed with personal development, studying the mind, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and so forth, how to reprogram the mindset. And then it occurred to me, what if it's not only my passion? What if it's actually my purpose? Simply put, the next day on a run in Central Park, I pulled over, I bought the domain to cultivatelastingsymphony.com, although I probably didn't have to rush for that. I don't think anyone was jonesing for that name. It was a play on my initial CLS. And simply put, I put together a 3-year vision, just like Walt Disney did the same tools that he did when he started Disneyland. I wanted to be the face of personal development. I wanted to revamp billions of mindsets, not for Craig Siegel, not for an ego thing. I just wanted to share my gifts with the world and help people revamp their mindsets.
Everyone would agree that the pandemic provided people with an opportunity to at least reflect on their lives. And there are a lot of people that are doing what they don't want to do. So you had that moment, that aha moment that so many people have. What was it that gave you the courage? Because that's the leap of faith. That's getting past that fear. Fear is the biggest dream killer that stops so many. What was it that put you past that fear that allowed you to get to where you are today?
Sadly, I think most people here on the planet are not doing what they love to do. And so ultimately, this is going to sound really deep, but I had to make it very real for myself, guys. I put myself in a scenario. I thought, if this was it for me and my funeral was in a couple weeks, what would people really say about me? Sure, I had some special relationships and I touched some lives, but did I really put a dent in the universe? And the answer was no, I didn't. I felt like I was underachieving and I wasn't sharing my gifts with the world, and thus I was being selfish. And so I made it so that now that I had this big idea, because that's what it takes, is a vision idea, to not take a shot or a swing at that, to keep going down a path, doing something that didn't light my soul on fire, I associated that with death. I made it that real for me. And then now that I had the idea of putting together a strategy and attacking it, so to speak, and trying to help people make a dent in the universe, that I associated pleasure to. So everyone listening right now, and I know we're on TV and there's gonna be so many people watching this is the value I wanna give you. If you're not doing something that you love to do and you do have idea, remove the fear and doubt. Look yourself in the mirror and say 3 words. Why not you? You are worthy, because if it's not you, it's going to be someone else. And we all deserve to live the life we desire.
You know, Craig, I'm glad you talked on doing things that you love to do, because I know for a fact you've achieved success in things I know you didn't love to do. For example, there was a time when you couldn't run a mile without stopping. And then within the next year, you ran 4 marathons, right? And I don't know if you decided that you changed your mindset, that you just love running. And I'm not a big believer in motivation, because motivation is temporary, but there had to be a mindset shift where you said, you know what, I'm gonna be the best marathon runner there is, even though right now I can't run a mile. Talk to us about that journey in your mind and what sort of tools you use to achieve those 4 marathons and beyond.
Yeah, so I thought you'd never ask, right? And you guys are gonna laugh at this one. So ultimately, before I decided to launch Cultivate Lasting Symphony or CLS, I was in a transition season in my life where I had all this built up energy. And Dave, as you can attest to, I don't half ask anything. I want to go all in, but I didn't know what the idea was. And I came across running, and I ran 1 mile, and I'd always lifted weights my whole life. That was my outlet, but never cardio, so to speak. And I was humbled with the fact that running 1 mile challenged me, and I was tired. Then I realized, was it really me that was tired, or was it my perception of effort? The very next day I ran 2 miles, much easier, so to speak. And I realized, just like life, running is a metaphor. Assuming you're able physically to put 1 foot in front of the other, it's that voice in the head that we have to combat, that we have to beat, so to speak. And so, again, I don't have too much moderation, so I signed up for the New York City Marathon. I ran that a few months later, and then that led to 4 marathons that very same year in 2019. But the bottom line is the voice in your head, it plays tricks on all of us. And I've had some of the greatest runners on the planet, Olympians, on the podcast. They also agree. Even they get the voice in your head, typically around mile 18 to 20. Here's some tools how to combat that. Number 1, we all have the ability to control the volume of the voice in our head. It doesn't have to sound so scary. We can actually lower the volume. This one you might laugh at, but it's very effective. The voice in our head, it doesn't have to sound like Darth Vader, so to speak. We could replace the tonality with one Bugs Bunny. Then all of a sudden, that voice in our head isn't so scary, and we can kind of control it, so to speak. And so to come full circle and answer your question, I was fascinated how running, even though new to me, and I'm not afraid to be a beginner, it was such a metaphor, because once I understood I could reprogram and control the voice in my head, there's nothing that I can't accomplish. And that's exactly why we're training right now for Chicago in October.
Craig, awesome. Let me ask you about goal setting. You know, you transitioned your life from Wall Street to go out and empower people, and you got a podcast that's booming, and you're running marathons. You have to have goals to get there. I'm a big believer that there's no elevator in life. You have to take the steps. Walk us through how you set your goals and how you get the wins that you need to keep pushing forward.
Goal setting is so important, but also like you have to celebrate the small wins. And let me be clear, this is something that I'm learning right now. It's a journey in life. So in order to have goals, like you have to have a vision. It has to be a big moonshot. So when I thought of CLS, so to speak, I wanted it to be the face of personal development, even bigger than Tony Robbins, so to speak. Not for me, and no ego thing. I just wanted to help revamp as many mindsets as I possibly could. And so when I reverse engineered it, I came in with the critic perspective, and I started to challenge myself. Well, Craig, how's it going to work? You have all these obstacles. Who's going to listen to you? What are your testimonials, so to speak? I came in with the third perspective as the realist. I said, wait a minute. I did start 2 businesses from the ground up with no experience, 8-figure juggernauts. I did go from not being able to run a mile to conquer 4 marathons that year. So I can do this stuff. So then from there, very simply, it was milestones. A tribute to Dave, I like to have milestones, small wins on our way to the big journey, so to speak. And Jay, just to answer your question, goals are so important for everybody. Simply put, it gives us purpose.
You know, in mentoring you and working with you and being on the paradigm shift, I've noticed that you're a little obsessive. And I mean that as a compliment.
Just a little bit.
How have you found to regulate and to hone in the compulsive behavior that you have to the positive aspect, because you're not getting the results you want as fast as you can? I know as your mentor and a mentor to so many compulsive people, and you don't see the negative results of some negative things that you may be compulsive about.
Again, phenomenal question. And Jay and Dave, I know you have these types of personalities, birds of a feather. That's where we hang out all the time. And look, the bottom line is this, and this might sound a little deep, but it's real. Obsessions are healthy as long as they're the right obsessions. Because when you have a compulsive or an obsession, or you're that goal-oriented, it shows desire. It shows enthusiasm, for lack of better words. The people that don't have that compulsiveness, that obsession, they can never really get past a certain point. Eating too much or drinking too much, those are unhealthy obsessions. Working out a lot, being obsessed with being present for your family, helping people like you are, Dave, north of 1 billion people, so to speak. These are healthy obsessions. But again, bottom line is as follows. Obsession shows that you're enthusiastic about something, and that's key. Just make sure you choose the healthy obsessions.
That's exactly what you do, Craig Siegel. You got to check out, he's the host of the CLS Experience. Check us out on Saturdays, The Paradigm Shift, an incredible mindset coach to help you get to those milestones. We should call him a milestone, not a mindset coach, a milestone coach.
Yeah.
That's Craig Siegel, and he's going to shock the world. Thank you for joining us on Office Hours.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
Love you guys. Chat soon. Thank you.
Yeah, every time I see this guy, energy is contagious.
Yeah.
Right? Just from the energy he brings. He doesn't have to say anything. Just seeing him there, propped up, smiling, is inspiring. I don't even have to hear what he's going to say. So he's half the way there and inspiring people just from the energy he brings. Then he adds on top of it the content and the credibility and the words that match the energy he brings. It's very inspirational.
Yeah, it's incredibly inspirational. To build on what you just said, Dave, it's not just that energy. Once he does dive into the content, it's analogous and similar to what you see in all of these successful people. They're willing to challenge those limiting beliefs. No, you can't. No, you shouldn't. Those things that are wired into our DNA to protect us, to keep us safe. The people that are really doing things and, like he said, making a dent in the world, they're throwing off the saddle and saying, yes, I can. Let me give this a shot. And that's what I love about that guy.
Small wins. You know, he said that's what it's about. He understands that you have to have small wins to celebrate, that you don't have to chase some crazy high goal. You know, and he exuberates high energy, motivation, ready to go. I think that's a good trait to have, and I think he's on to a fantastic career doing that.
What an extraordinary guest. We got many more coming here on Office Hours.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back on Office Hours.